Hello and welcome to yet another episode of We Talk Talent. In today's episode, we are conversing with Jayan Nair, Senior Vice President and Head of Global Human Resources, IBS Software. Welcome to the show, Jayan.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks a lot. So, our special guest, Jayan, has been associated with IBS for almost 2 decades now and responsible for the entire HR function. And he has headed different functions within the company over the stint of 19 years to be specific. And Mr. Nair holds a bachelor degree in engineering from the University of Kerala. And he has also worked with the Steel Authority of India before joining IBS Software. Today, we'll talk about some of the important aspects of hiring, hybrid talent, employer branding, and candidate experience. So, Jen, my first question to you is how do we redefine employer brands to attract hybrid talent in a virtual context?
Okay, I think it's a good question. In the past, companies used to build their employer brands by offering a lot of facilities in office. The idea was that employees had to spend most of their work time in office, irrespective of the flexi options that most of them provided. Hence, make that experience in the place different was the approach that companies were taking. In the new normal, this would change a lot. Employees will expect a lot more flexibility on time they have to spend in office. Some would like to come to office all days, but with flexi timings. Some would prefer to be coming to office only 2 to 3 days a week. Some would like to work remote only from their native place or places where it's better suited for their spouse's job or kids' education. A lot of such factors will change. So when we look about the future brands will be those who can make the experience of remote working much better. Employees will look for seamless way of working remote. And when I say seamless way, it will not be just based on the quality of the physical infrastructure. It will be based on how employees feel being part of the organization while being remote, the ability of the organization to make people comfortable while working from different places, things that are in place that do not make people isolated. And all these aspects will define the brand of the company in the future, Abid.
So, you mentioned companies will try hard to make the employees comfortable. How difficult it is to make customized arrangements for all the employees? Can you share some personal experience?
I think it's again on this Abid. Like when you come to office, like you work quite a lot, but you have a lot of informal opportunities to connect. Now it could be over a tea in the pantry. It could be that okay, when you're sitting in a meeting, like I mean, you will be there 5 minutes before. You will have a lot of informal conversations through which a lot more things get discussed, where people know each other better, and people talk about certain aspects of the business better. When it comes to remote kind of a thing, like there will be a lot of occasions when people will come into a meeting, just start on the topic and then go on with the conversation, finish the topic and then leave it. I think
Yes.
the key is for the organizations to enable a lot more of informal settings through which employees are able to interact, employees are able to know more, because it's very easy to feel isolated when you're just sitting in front of your laptop at home and then do your work and then have certain meetings where only the subject matter is discussed. So it is going to be difficult, but we need to know, like I mean, how each people are in the organization. HR plays an important role in making sure that okay, we align people to different interest groups. The managers play an important role to make sure that employees participate in a lot of organization activities, even though, like I mean, it may not be related to the project. So a lot of such activities need to be done to make sure that people are pushed into many of the informal things, working remote.
So you mentioned about the remote working part, and I'll come to you on this question. Given the current scenario, as I'm referring to the remote working or new normal, we can say, and talking about hiring specifically, how has your hiring strategy with respect to sourcing, selection, and pipeline management changed as many new geographies and new formats of working opened up?
Okay. Abid, like, I mean, there's been some difference in the way we were operating in the past. Like, we are a product company. where there is quite a lot of importance on the domain competence in the organization. So that means we want technology people definitely, but we want techno domain people also in large numbers in the organization, because we are a company that goes into the customer and tell the customer that this is how your processes need to change, this is how your processes can be improved, this is how you can improve your profitability, all such matters in a consultative manner. And then we go with our products and solutions also to the customers. Right from the beginning of the organization, we knew that okay, we cannot constrain ourselves to locations when we are hiring people. And that worked out quite well in our non-India locations. So when we hire people, say in US, or when we hire people in Europe, it's not that okay, we look for people in Atlanta or London alone where we have our offices. So we have people working from Frankfurt, we have people working from Vienna, we have people working from Stockholm, lots such kind of places, because we wanted to hire the right talent and then make sure that okay, we find out like how do we make them successful inside the organization in there. So there has been a few things that we have learned in the past, which we are applying today in with much more rigor. Because we have not been doing this very well for the technology staff in India. For technology staff in India, we have been recruiting for people only in Trivandrum, Cochin, and Bangalore, where we have our offices. But right now, we have decided that okay, we will open it up. We will look for people irrespective of the location, because one, we have done that in the past. We have enabled people to be successful in the past. But right now, we know we are putting in a lot more effort to make sure that okay, people are successful once they work remote. So the key thing is that in terms of our strategy and approach, we have taken the location constraint off. We are looking for people anywhere in India so that okay, we get the right talent in, and then we have a mechanism to make them successful once they join us.
Okay. Thank you so much for highlighting it in details. And I'll come back to you with another point. You mentioned about physical interaction in the first question. And right now, candidate experience matters a lot of time. And especially with no physical interaction, it has another set of challenges. And right now, when we are dealing with remote working, virtual candidate experience is something which everyone is talking about, even the employees and the employers as well. So how should organization design and implement a great virtual candidate experience?
Okay, it's a great question, Amit. And I think that is something that the organizations is learning. I think, especially like from my perspective, I know that we are in the early stages of that. If you really look at past, like after the telephonic rounds of interviews, we always insisted that we have to meet person face to face, because we always felt that okay, it gives a different perspective. Like we get to understand a person more when we are meeting face to face. And more important, we felt that when a person comes to our office, we felt that okay, the person is able to understand the culture better. The person is able to meet a lot more of our people better. And hence we thought that okay, having that face-to-face conversation is an extremely important step in the recruitment process. But in today's world, or in today's scenario, that's a very difficult proposition. So what does it mean? It means that every interaction that we have with the employee become much more critical than what was there in the past. In the past, we always had the final round for us to make an impression with the people, because when they come to office, when they see our environment, when they see a lot of our people, they used to kind of feel like, I mean, what is IBS all about? But today, what we are telling is that each and every person who is interacting from the organization need to keep that in mind and make every interface as delightful as possible. Now, it will include that, okay, you need to keep the right level of engagement in the selection process. Infrastructure is very important. We should have the right platform for the video calls, right platform to communicate and exchange information, right platform to convert the old physical ways of collecting the document and then moving into a soft copy mode, all other kind of things. But I think more important is on the way in which we interact. We need to have a process where every connect point makes people more comfortable, enable the candidates to ask a lot of questions, answer their questions very thoroughly in detail, encourage them to ask a lot of questions, because sometimes people may ask, people may not ask, but we have to make sure that people ask all the questions to understand the organization better and give them a feel of our culture all through. And of course, like, all of this need to be complemented by the speed with which we do the process. That means the process right from the start to the end need to happen at a pace, uh, uh, at a pace at which, like, an employee do not lose interest in the whole process.
Thank you for very beautifully explaining the entire virtual experience, which is very important. But I have another question which is related to virtual experience, and we all know that virtual experience is here to stay. So, how do you see candidate experience evolving in future, going forward? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I always look to other industry or what others are doing to see, like, how it is evolving. Like, whether it is banking, whether it's a travel booking, whether it's a online shopping, or whether it is the restaurant apps, all other applications have come and created a kind of an environment, or kind of a benchmark for us all to see, like, how do we make candidate experience better? Okay. Now, I think a few things which I was thinking was that there will be better mechanisms through which candidate will be able to know more about the company. So that means companies need to focus a lot more in telling the world that this is what makes a difference. This is what the culture is all about. This is what our jobs are. This is what your learning experience will be, and all. And so it will move away from the traditional way of, okay, an employee trying to understand about a company, a candidate trying to understand more about the company during the interview process alone. Like, there will be more of proactive steps from the companies to make people aware about a lot more. There should be mechanisms for the candidates to ask questions quite a lot through the process. So I'm sure, like, platforms with bots and all evolve in such a way that, okay, we are able to answer questions of candidates more. And I think, like, okay, there have to be people who are always available to kind of answer the question, so that there is that personal touch which is there. The offer to joining process has to be very intuitive and candidate friendly. If you ask them to kind of scan hundreds of pages, like, they are going to lose interest in terms of, like, in our process. So we have to make sure that it makes it much more easier and faster for the employees. And of course, like, in the process, employee also need to learn continuously about the organization. So as we go through each step, like, the candidate should be able to access information that will answer a lot more questions about the company as they go through. So it's going to be a combination of technology and attitude that will evolve, which will make the candidate experience better.
So, attitude being the key word here. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So, we spoke about candidate experience from the employee's perspective. I have one question for you. What skills and attributes are necessary for hiring managers?
If you look at 10, 15 years back, when companies were operating or were opening up offices around the world, the concept of managers underwent a lot of change. So in the past, managers used to be seated nearby, or in the same office, or in the same floor, where manager was able to kind of meet the employee and talk quite a lot every day. It changed to remote manager concepts. In the remote manager concepts, when we were doing that, okay, one of the things that I remember one of our managers was saying is that when you are away, when you're managing remote, the negatives get amplified quite a lot. So every small areas of improvement that you as a manager need to do, if it was less relevant in the pre-remote days, it was more relevant in the remote management days. And I think that kind of a transformation is what is happening from a hiring manager perspective also. I think the hiring manager need to be a lot more careful, show a lot of sympathy, show a lot more of listening skills, more explanative in articulation. That means, like, the Q&A should not be that, like, a manager is answering a one-line sentence to a question that an employee is saying. Like, it need to be very explanative and make the candidate comfortable in the whole process. Because again, like, I mean, compare with when they used to come to office. Like, I mean, when you receive a candidate from the reception to the time you walk into the meeting room where the formal interview happened, there was an informal setup that is happening. We are losing that kind of a thing in there. So the managers need to keep that in mind, and manager need to keep in mind that, okay, they are not just managers; they are salespeople for the organization. So that means their job involves selling the job, selling about the content, the job content, selling about the role to the candidate much more. Make him comfortable, make the candidate comfortable to answer, to ask a lot of questions, and enable the customer to be in touch even after the conversation. So that means, like, I mean, conversation should end with the feel from both sides that, okay, the candidate is going to reach out to the manager if there are further questions coming in there. So short connects post the interviews also will help. So my feeling is that these are some of the key skills and attitude that the managers need to show, or managers need to move on when it comes to hiring, to give that experience, especially on a remote hire.
Thank you so much for highlighting the qualities of a manager that a manager should possess. I have a question that is mixed for both, that is candidate experience and hiring managers as well. So, what metrics do you follow to evaluate and assess candidate experience? That is one. And second, do you have KPIs for hiring managers in this regard?
I think, Abid, we are in the early stages of that. We are in the process of looking at, like, I mean, how do we ensure that, okay, people are aware about this right now. Of course, like, I mean, it's very easy for me to say that, okay, managers need to go through this or need to behave it different. So I think the step one that we are doing is in terms of making people aware about what has changed and what are the attitudes that need to be changed, or what are some of the things that need to be evolving on that. I think metrics, we are still in the early stages. Like, we are thinking in terms of, like, what are some of the metrics that will enable us to kind of measure ourselves much better. I think definitely things around, like, I mean, the connect, the conversions, the ability of the managers to make people comfortable, the connect that happens post the interviews. A lot of such kind of metrics will come in when it comes to us measuring how the things are improving.
Thank you so much, Jan, for sharing your thoughts. And it was wonderful hosting you. Thanks a lot for taking out time and answering our questions.
Thank you, Abid. Like, I mean, I think those were all very pertinent questions which companies need to start thinking further, need to evolve. Like, I mean, it's a learning exercise for all of us in the process. And I'm sure all of us will come out uh, much kind of better experience in terms of how to manage this remote world better.